Birmingham City, the second city, the home of the Brummies, a city that was described as the city of 1001 different trades. The city that founded brands such as Bird's Custard, Cadbury World, HP Saws, Thai Food Tea, and of course, the home of the famous Bullring Market. A home to the great scientist inventors such as Matthew Boulton, James Watt and William Murdoch, leading Birmingham to be the first manufacturing town in the world. The famous Lord of the Rings film was based in Moseley, an area in Birmingham where the author J.R.R. Tolkien lived. A city that has more canals than Venice, with 100 miles of canal navigations. But now, the second city has almost become unrecognisable thanks to high levels of migration that the indigenous people are now reported to be a minority in our own city. Birmingham is now recognised as one of the most dangerous cities in Britain to live, with the overall crime rate in 2021 was 50 crimes per 1,000 people. In 2001, the percent of white Britons was 70%. In 2011, it dropped immensely to 57% and is now predicted for the upcoming census that our people have now dropped to below 50% of the population. It's time not just for the Brummies to stand side by side, but it's time for the ethnically English to make a stand for our people, to do all we can to prevent the clear plan to demographically replace us in our home nation. We wish for a peaceful world amongst peaceful people, amongst our own people, but it's time to make a stand, and all as one, we put the English people first. Welcome to Nottingham, a city in the East Midlands, the home of Robin Hood, notoriously known for being a legendary English outlaw featured in many literatures and films. One of the oldest pubs in Britain and was built on a series of caves is called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem. The current name is believed to come from the belief that the pilgrims or crusaders would stop at the inn on their journey to Jerusalem. A former Victorian courtroom, prison and police station is now the home of the National Justice Museum, previously called Galleries of Justice. Therefore, this is a historic site where an individual could be arrested, tried, sentenced and even executed. Nottingham-born bare-knuckle fighter William Bendigo Thompson, who won the heavyweight championship of England against James Burke in 1939, had a pub named after him. That pub ended up being replaced as an Indian restaurant called Noor, and a statue of the fighter still remains on the roof of the restaurant. Now, Nottingham faced major changes with demographics. In 2001, the percentage of white Britons was 81.05%. In the 2011 census, the percentage dropped to 65.42%. If the next census drops another 16%, the indigenous people of our island will drop below 50%, leaving us with another city that we are a minority in. Over the previous 6 years, the highest level of crime rate in Nottingham was in 2019, with a total of reported crimes of being 41,790, and the lowest reported crimes was in 2016 of 29,890. We must keep spreading the awareness of the damage multiculturalism has done to our nation, and to call for the people to put the English people first. Welcome to Grimsby. This town is most famous for its fishing industry. It's recognised as Britain's busiest working port, even handling more tonnage than London. It's an important centre for car import, food processing, and reported as the finest seafood in the country. Grimsby is the home of the famous Active Patriot, one of the most hard-working English nationalists that has worked tirelessly up and down the country with his live streams, most notably exposing the invasion of England down at Dover Docks. As you drive into Grimsby, one of the first things you would notice is its iconic landmark, the Dock Tower. In June 1931, the tower survived an earthquake centred offshore on Dogger Bank, and during the Second World War, there were plans to demolish the tower as it acted as a beacon for the German Luftwaffe aircraft heading towards Liverpool. Hardcore Islamic activist Ali Dawah once described Grimsby as the most racist town in the UK. Would this be because this traditional English town is still overwhelmingly English? The 2011 census statistics release was that Grimsby was 97% ethnically white. However, since then, Grimsby have had a fair share of immigrants move into the town, but unlike other cities that the English are already a minority in, or soon to be a minority in, let's not get too excited thinking this would not happen to the town of Grimsby in the future. We must keep sharing the awareness of demographics, high birth rates amongst people that have no ancestral rights to England, to raise awareness to the Grimsby people that such places as Birmingham, Leicester, Slough, Luton, London, etc. are already a minority, and the people of this town should do all it can to keep Grimsby a town for the English, and we must always put England first. Welcome to Leicester. Leicester is the largest city in the East Midlands and the 10th largest in the country. In the 19th century, Leicester became famous for its footwear manufacturing. The country's most popular crisp, Walkers, was founded in Leicester in 1948 by Henry Walker. Richard III was King of England from 1483 until he died in Leicester at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Back in 2012, researchers found a skeleton under a car park in the city of Leicester. The remains were believed to be Richard III. For me, the true modern day hero of that city is James Goddard, an English nationalist that has worked tirelessly over the years to spread the awareness of our demographic decline, which currently sees us as a minority in the city of Leicester, along with other cities and towns in England. In 2001, the English people was 60.54% of the city's population. In 2011, it dropped over 15%, leaving the English people at just 45.6%. So due to increasing levels of immigration and high birth rates, could we possibly see Leicester drop to around 30% English in the next census? The crime rates have been out of control every year over the past 5 years, with 2016 having a total of 33,578 crimes and 2021 being its highest with 46,371. We must do all we can as English people to do our best to make our voices be heard, to reverse the demographic change to our cities and towns. We must do all we can to protect our history, identity and culture. We must always put England first. Welcome to Luton. The town is most known for its top hats, dating back to the 1700s. The hat making industry was one of Luton's biggest industries. The football club Luton Town are even named the Hatters, and still to this day there are several small scale businesses in Luton still producing high quality top hats. Luton was also home to a large Vauxhall Motors factory. The head office of Vauxhall Motors is still situated in the town. Car production at the plant began in 1905 and continued until 2002, where commercial vehicle production remained. However, despite its great history, Luton has totally transformed in recent years. It is unfortunately the home of Islamic preacher Anjem Chowdhury, whom for many years told his followers of a perfect vision for Britain under Sharia law. Now, I have no issue with Islam or Sharia law if it's practiced in their ancestral homelands and not in our homeland. This is a Christian English country and it must always remain that way. The demographics of Luton in the 2001 census shows English people was 64.97% of the town's population, and in just 10 years it has dropped over 20%, leaving us at 44.55%. With the next census coming soon, will we see one of our great English towns lose another 20%? That would see our people at around 24%. Either way, we are already a minority in this once great town. We must keep spreading the awareness of the rapid demographic decline of the English people in our nation. We need to ask the questions to the people in power on how is this acceptable to allow our people to become a minority in not just this town, but many other towns and cities across our country. We should stand with our people, we should stand with our nation, and we remember we should always put England first. Welcome to the town of Slough. The town is situated in the Berkshire region, 20 miles west of the capital city, London. Sir Neville Francis Fitzgerald Chamberlain, born in Slough, invented the popular snooker game. The name snooker comes from a comment Chamberlain made about a player who missed a shot. He called him a real snooker, referring to his lack of experience. In 1951, the zebra crossing was first installed in Slough. The zebra crossing quickly became popular and was only in its teen years when the Beatles made their trip across Abbey Road for the cover of their album of the same name. The zebra crossing was a step forward in road safety. The Mars bar chocolate was first created in 1932 in Slough by Forrest Mars, and still to this day the same factory still exists. The wheelie bin was invented by the Slough-based company Frank Rotherham Mouldings in March 1968. It was initially used to move rubbish from one part of the factory to the other. Over the last 5 years, crime rates keep getting higher and higher in Slough. With the lowest crime rates was back in 2016 was 11,201, and the highest crime rates was back in 2021 being 15,872. The demographics of the English people in Slough in 2001 was 58.32%, and it drops immensely in just 10 years to 34.52%, leaving us a minority in another English town. With the next census approaching, could we see our people become below 20% of our own town in our own nation? Slough is sadly proof of the demographic change seen in many towns and cities across England. We, as the English people, need to do all we can to stop this decline. We must always put England first. Welcome to London. The city is supposed to be England's capital city until the greedy elitists opened up our borders, and now sadly we are a minority in our own capital city. London is traditionally known for its red telephone boxes, the red double-decker bus and the red post boxes. London's best form of travel around the city is the London Underground, but better known by the English people as the Tube. Another of London's iconic symbols is of course the black cab. These are driving all over the city at all hours of the day. Wembley Stadium is of course the home of our national football team. Our greatest moment was lifting the World Cup back in 1966. Tower Bridge has become an undisputed symbol of the City of London, and so is often confused with London Bridge. Thanks to mass immigration and anti-English hatred, our capital city has now been taken away from our people. People who hate our way of life and have a dislike for our people have in recent years been rioting on our streets, burning our flags and vandalising our history. The demographics of London shows we was 59.79% in 2001 and has dropped to 44.89% in 2011, confirming the English people are now a minority in our capital city. We always hear from the elitists, the media and campaigns from anti-racism groups that the ethnic minorities are suffering here in England, when indeed it's the ethnically English people that's truly being ignored, forgotten and pushed out of our major cities. We as the English people need to stand side by side, build our own communities, raise awareness of the demographic decline, and we must always put England first. Welcome to Churro. The city Churro is the capital city of Cornwall and the most southern city in the country. The city is what truly represents the English people. The name Churro is actually derived from the Cornish term Troiviru, meaning 3 rivers. There are in fact 3 rivers that run through Churro: the Kenwyn, the Allen and the Churro River, which joins the River Fell further downstream. During the 14th century, a port in Churro was established so that metals mined in the surrounding areas of Cornwall could be exported overseas. Churro became the central hub in Cornwall and beyond for trading in tin, but also slate, copper, cloth and grain. The famous drummer Roger Taylor from the rock band Queen was born in Churro in 1949. Every year, Churro hosts the City of Lights. This event is one of the biggest to take place in Churro all year. It begins with the initial switching on of Churro's Christmas lights and then continues into a lantern parade. The demographic shows the city is still a super majority English people, with statistics showing in 2001 the white ethnic group recorded was 19,537, with 19,062 being born here in the UK. Whilst we can still enjoy a true English city in this day and age, we must still keep raising awareness to the Cornish people. They've found politicians continue to invite the non-English into our homelands. It could very well spread to this beautiful city, and in years to come it may well become a minority city like we are already in London, Birmingham, Leicester, etc. We must do all we can to protect our culture, our identity, and we must always put England first.